A lot of people start companies with gas and hope. They don't know that there are many, many ways for a startup to fail. So today, let's go through the different ways for a startup to fail. Okay. I posed this question myself, and so that I can give you an answer. Fundamentally, startups fail all the time. Many, many failures are never known and never discussed. That's a problem. A failure is defined by two factors. There are only basically two ways for a company to fail. One is the company just run out of money and cannot put in any new money. Okay, there's no more bullets. There's no more blood. Uh, Even in that case, the founder can still keep working on it himself or herself. And so the real failure of a company is whenever the founder or the board decides to shut it down. Okay, there are only two ways for a company to truly, truly fail. Just because you don't reach your goal doesn't mean you failed. It just means you didn't reach your goal. So how can a company run out of money? Okay, we said that this is the number one reason why a company fail. Well, there are three reasons. One is the company do not have any means of producing income. You give people something and nobody wants to buy it, or nobody knows that you're there, or nobody like the price, whatever. Number two is there's no sales. Uh, there is sales, but you're not profitable. Okay, you can't make profit out of it. There are a lot of cases where people can make money, but they are losing money to make money. Let's say you take $100 to build something inferior and you sell it for 50. People love it at 50, but they don't love it at 150. Okay, so um, if you are not profitable, there won't be any new investment coming in, and boom, you don't have a shot. And the third way that a company can run out of money is that there is sales, but there's also competition. The competitions take your sales away. Competitors have different motives. Some competitors just want to capture a market. They are willing to lose money for 10 years just to take you out, whereas you only have money to last for a year. So if you only have bullets for a year and your enemy has bullets for 10, after you discover the market, and you will be removed. That happens actually quite often. So you may ask, how can a company have sales but not profit? Okay, it happens in at least two ways. When the price space is controlled or patrolled by competitions. Let's say we used to have a product, but we have two competitors. They are both dirty, and one is basically selling below the cost, and one is selling fake stuff. And they have a method of removing all the bad reviews online. We don't know how, we don't want to use it, but they patrol the price space. So one guy sells it at 100, a fake stuff, and nobody knows it's fake, and people keeps buying that 100 instead of ours, which is 400. The number two way that you can have sale but not profitable is when the product fails to have quality control. Is if you can't back up your quality. If you make a sensor and you can't tell people that this works no matter what, if you can't tell people that, if you have a lot of asterisks, a lot of conditions under which that your product would work, then of course people don't value your product as much as you value your product, okay, or you value your contribution. The third way that a product can fail is that they don't have quality. Okay, so how can a product don't have quality? Well, basically when you hire inferior people, quality is a direct function of talent. And talent is drawn to you because of salary or because of your mission is exciting. So that's important. So if you don't have a story, if you don't have a way to draw talents, then of course you're not going to have quality. If you don't have quality, you may have sales but no profit, and eventually the company will die. It doesn't matter how you started. Okay. And what is the top reason that a team will shut down? Okay, that's really the ultimate reason that either you decide that you're going to go back to work for someone, or you're having a huge battle with your co-founder. Well, there's founders dispute all the time. Okay, there's founders dispute all the time. Founding teams, two people, are as critical as marriages. Okay, like husband and wives, except in this case, there's no law that says that the founders have to be married all the time. They can be distracted by interest, by seductions all the time. When you make money, then the true human nature of the other person starts to show. When you are in difficult situation, then the true human nature of the other person starts to show. Okay, it's not as handy dandy as as comrades. Successful establishment of a running company is sometimes no longer interesting after you have learned how hard it is to run it. Okay, let's say you spend $100 just to make $100, just to break even. Is that fun for another 10, 20, 30 years? Maybe not. Okay, so we want to discuss a critical question: is how can a startup have no sale? Why is sales so hard? A lot of companies actually fail because they never find a sale. How can a wonderful product not be accepted? Well, there are at least two reasons. Sometimes a product has interesting features, okay? For example, sensitivity. Sometimes sensitivity high and price is low for that sensitivity. But the channel would reject you because the channel does not believe you can make livings for them. Okay, you need to have channel insiders. You need to have spies inside the channel to help you get in, so to speak. If nobody sees that they can make a living off you, they won't take you in. It doesn't matter how good you are. Uh, and the product is worth the price, but not worth the value. Okay, say you're making something that costs $100 to make, and you can barely sell it at 101 because that's how people value you. In reality, you should be thinking about selling it at 10 and sell 1,000 units and kind of, you're becoming a dirty competitor to some extent. That's illegal in the US, but legal in a lot of other countries. And under e commerce, even this kind of thing is no longer illegal. So, why the VCs don't fund you? That's another reason why you don't have money, okay? The VCs don't fund you just because of one reason, that they don't believe for certain that you are going to return the money with multiples. They don't want you to return the money. They want you to return the money with multiples quick. It took me a long time to figure out exactly how quick and how much they want because they will never say it. They will always tell you, oh, we're comrades, we're working together. But that's not true, okay? So a VC don't see a promise. What's the reason they don't see a promise? Well, if you don't bring in validations of sales, if you don't bring in sales receipt to them, if your story is not exciting for them to tell others, and if you and your team are not high quality, and you keep on telling people, we will quit our jobs after we get your money, that is a non-starter. So I mentioned systematically the ways for startups to fail from top to bottom. Okay, there are at the very top there are only two reasons, but then there are many reasons for those reasons. We also discussed the startup diving chart. Okay, the startup diving chart is a person diving into the business world to find a sale, to find a value proposition being accepted. And this is a very long dive because the shorter dives, so-called the low-hanging fruits, have all been taken. So you have to dive and you have to be systematic, you have to be persistent. You find the buyer, and then your fortune would turn. And a lot of people do not survive the dive, and a lot of people do not survive the surface. And some companies, if they have founder problem, the minute they come out of on land, the founder starts to have disputes and all kinds of things. A lot of companies fails to build the barriers of preventing others from following them, and that's also a problem. Here's another way to look at the startup process. Okay, the startup process is a series of jumps, not a series of walks. Okay, you start from here and you try to find a partner and you try to go over the hurdle of quality. You want to make quality. And then people will say, hey, does this thing have value? If you do, then you face the barriers of entering the market. The barrier is a two-edged sword. Once you go through it, then it becomes the obstacle for the followers. All right. So you want to go through barriers, and then you have competition, and then you have channels issues. People may not come over, and then in the end, once you go through all this, maybe this whole thing is a boat made out of sand. It dissolves. So there are really, really many ways for a startup to fail. It's not a handy dandy fantasy story at all. So be prepared when you brainstorm, be prepared when you think of idea.